Welcome to the Fail Forward Podcast. The purpose of this podcast is change the negative stigma around failure into a positive. Failure is only a negative if we do not learn from it and we give up. Welcome back to the Fail Forward Podcast. So today I'm going to be talking about accountability. Now, accountability is everything when it comes to getting over failure and learning from failure, because accountability means that we're looking within before we blame others. So my original business coach, Jeff Shrimpton, he was part of a brand called ActionCoach, which some people may know, and they very much talk about above and below the line. So if you're above the line, you're taking ownership, accountability and responsibility, and if you're below the line, you're blaming, excuses, and you're in denial. And Jeff used to talk to me about this a lot, and I understood it, but I didn't fully understand accountability really. And accountability can be many different forms. It can be holding someone account for the actions that they take. It can be, giving someone a piece of equipment and then they're accountable for that piece of equipment. But when I'm talking about accountability in the sense of failure, as I say, we have to look within before we look without. And by that, I mean looking at ourselves. And to give you context, my learning from accountability was when the business went under in 2019. It was tough. It was tough on my mental health. It was tough on my relationship with my wife. It was tough on the relationship with my children. But ultimately, the toughest thing was knowing that I was the person who was sailing the ship. I was the person that was making the decisions. And if at that point I had blamed what contract we were on, my staff, whatever other circumstances were going on, if I'd have blamed everything else, then I would have been ignorant to actually the decisions that I made and the things that I did wrong. And I might not have ever learned. I might still be doing that same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So that's why I wanted to do a whole deep dive episode into accountability, because I think it's the biggest thing that we can do as human beings to really accept when we've done things wrong. And it's really tough because we all have egos, whether they're small or bad. Some people might be thinking, like, I'm the most modest person. I don't have an ego, I accept everything. But we all do, because nobody ever likes to accept when they're wrong, because it's difficult, because you're criticizing yourself, you're having to look within. So to hold yourself accountable is actually a really powerful thing, because we don't like it, and staring down the barrel of defeat, and very much like Liam said in the last episode, he wanted to win all the time. I hate losing. I really do. So when we lost the business, that was like the ultimate loss. I felt like I'd failed life. I'd failed my family, friends. I'd failed, and I was a loser. So staring down the barrel at that was really, really tough. So it did hit me hard. It hit my mental health hard, and it took me quite a while. I alluded to it in the first episode. I was really fortunate to have Mike and Sophie along the journey with me in the tree surgery business. It really helped support me a good couple of months after the business went under, because it took me a while to mentally get over that. There was a lot of anxiety and depression and things, but ultimately I had to go through that to come out the other side and to get into a position where I am now. I had to hold myself accountable. It was really tough, because you then have to analyze everything that you've done over the previous years, all those mini mistakes, all those mini failures that I hadn't failed forward on, all compounded to that point where the business went under. So the first port of accountability, the first port of failure that I talk about, and I talked about in one of the previous episodes, is the accountability, because we have to look within. We have to look at what we've done. For example, because we've talked about property in the past and now I'm in property. For example, if I do a property project and I get a builder to come in and I say, right, I want you to turn all this house like this, and I want you to, that room to be a bathroom, that to be the kitchen, this is how I want you to do it. And then we get to the end of the project and it's not been done properly, the builder's not done what they've done. At that point, do you blame the builder or do you blame yourself? A lot of people will just say, oh, that's a crap builder. I'm not using him again. I'm not going to use them again because they didn't do what I said. But at that point, that's where you've really got to ask yourself the question, did I give the right instructions? Were the instructions clear? Did I give them a detailed work plan? Did I do some people say, oh, well, I paid the builder and they disappeared and they didn't do anything for ages. Well, was that a marked payment that you get to this a percentage of work and then you get paid? There's so many things that you can do to mitigate these things. And that's why we have to look within and ask ourselves. And if you get to the point where you say, okay, I did do everything right, then yeah, fair enough. Then don't use that builder again. But that's where we have to look within. There's so many scenarios where we need to have that accountability and be looking at ourselves. And as I said before, and I'll keep saying it, it is tough because no one wants to think they've done anything wrong. But you're never going to learn. You're going to be ignorant to your own doing if you don't hold yourself accountable. If you blame other people, then you're just going to go and do the same thing again. And the next time you do a property project, you're going to keep going through builders, and then you're just going to be one of these people down the pub that's saying, oh, all builders are so unreliable, when actually it could be you that are doing more. Now, I'm not saying that that's for every case. And as I said previously, I can only give my advice on what I've experienced. And for me, accountability is the most powerful thing. And I never want anybody to get to that point where they lose everything. And I believe the mini failures, if you can hold yourself accountable at the mini failures, it will compound. So you create great success rather than unfortunate failures. So like I said before, the only time failure is negative is if you don't learn from it and you give up. The first step from learning from it is holding yourself accountable and asking yourself within, what can I do differently? How can I improve? What could I have done differently in that situation? Is there anything I could do? Because if you can do that quickly and you can really master that, then you are going to fail forward so much quicker. You're going to create success quicker, and you're going to have a less path of resistance to get you to where you want to go. So I challenge everybody listening now to look back in the last year and think about things that might not have gone so right in your lives, and start trying to work out whether you could have done something differently. Start trying to look at that accountability. And really, it's like a muscle. Just keep learning to do that. Keep looking at those scenarios. And yeah, if you can get to the end of it and say, you know what, I've done everything I could have done. That generally was out of my hands. Then that's fine. You can move on quickly. But then you learn what it is about that person or that situation that could be different next time. Not using that builder, not using that specific service, trying to do something else. And it's that adapt and evolve that we can do. It's that continuous failing forward, learning, evolving. So accountability is it's a tough subject to talk about, and maybe not the most positive episode. So next time we're talking about finding your winning formula, and it's going to deep dive into what my winning formula is, but also looking at how you can find your winning formula so you can turn up to your business, your job, whatever it is, in the best mindset, with the best possible feeling to be able to keep going every day and compound your results. So it will be about the winning formula. So if you've liked what you've heard today, please subscribe to whatever channel it is that you're listening through, and like this page, and also share with a friend. Thanks for listening, and speak to you next time.